Imagine standing in the absolute center of a hurricane. Around you, the world is tearing itself apart. Your boss is screaming. The economy is collapsing. And the person you trust most just walked out the door. Most people would shatter. They would drown in the noise, suffocated by anxiety and the desperate need to control things that were never theirs to begin with. But you are different. You are building something they can't touch. Welcome to the power of Stoicism. This isn't a self-help trend or a collection of feel-good quotes. This is a 2,000-year-old combat manual for the human mind. The world is a war zone, and your mind is the only sanctuary. Stoicism teaches us a brutal truth. The only thing you truly own is your thoughts and your actions. Everything else, the weather, the traffic, the opinions of others, is just background noise. By accepting this reality, you don't just find peace. You find power. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the architect of your own character. We are about to explore 5 profound lessons that will transform your mind into an invincible fortress. Staying calm isn't a gift. It's a discipline you're currently failing. Shut the world out. Build the walls. Now, let us step inside the fortress and draw the first line of defense between you and the chaos. Lesson 1. Master the dichotomy. Draw the line in the sand. Epictetus, the man born a slave who died a master of his own soul, built his entire philosophy on one sharp, unforgiving line, the dichotomy of control. Most of you live in a state of constant, low-level panic because you're trying to grab smoke. You worry about the economy. You obsess over what your neighbors think. And you stress about the weather. These things are ghosts. They are outside the line. Epictetus demands that you withdraw your energy from the noise and pour it entirely into the only domain you truly own: your thoughts, your intentions, and your responses. Your internal world is the only real estate you own. Stop letting trash rent space in your head. Think of the archer. He chooses the best bow. He trains his muscles to iron, and he releases the arrow with absolute precision. That is his job. But the moment the arrow leaves the string, his control dies. A sudden gust of wind, a bird, or the target moving, these are none of his business. If the arrow misses, he remains unshakable because his excellence was in the shot, not the result. You must become that archer in every conversation, every project, and every crisis. Invest in the effort, but detach from the outcome. You are obsessed with the target because you are too weak to master the bow. Draw the line. Let the world burn. Outside of it. Now that you've secured the border, it's time to kill the ghosts that haunt your focus. Lesson 2. Ruthless presence. Kill the ghost of regret. Seneca, the statesman who faced exile and death with a calm smile, knew that the greatest thief of human life is not death. It's the wandering mind. Most of you are living everywhere, except in the room you are currently sitting in. You are either haunted by the ghosts of yesterday's mistakes or paralyzed by the shadows of tomorrow's what-ifs. Stoicism calls this a self-inflicted prison. Seneca's message was brutal. While we wait for life, life passes. The present moment is the only piece of existence you actually possess. To abandon it for a past you cannot change or a future you cannot guarantee is an act of insanity. The past is a graveyard and the future is a fantasy. The only reality is the breath you are taking right now. Mindfulness, in the Stoic sense, isn't about relaxing in a garden. It is a ruthless guard at the gates of your mind. It is the discipline of catching a runaway thought and dragging it back to the present. Whether you are drinking a cup of coffee or facing a corporate crisis, your power is measured by your presence. If your mind is in the future, you are vulnerable. If it is in the past, you are defeated. Only in the now are you invincible. You are spending your only wealth, time, on memories that don't exist and fears that haven't happened. Stop running, stand still, own the moment. Now that you are present in the fortress, it is time to establish the law that governs it. Lesson 3. The sovereignty of choice. Your mind, your law. Epictetus proved that even in chains, a man can be a king. He discovered the most lethal weapon in the Stoic arsenal, the gap between every insult you hear and the anger you feel. There is a fraction of a second. A void. This is your throne room. Most people surrender this space to instinct, reacting like animals to a whip. But a master inhabits this space. He knows that external events are just raw data, and data cannot bleed. It is not the cold that freezes you, but your complaint about the weather. Stop acting like a servant to your own emotions. When someone cuts you off in traffic or disrespects your name, they are merely testing the strength of your gate. You are the supreme court of your own reality. No one can enter your sanctuary or ruin your day without your signature on the warrant. You hold the legislative power to decide that a tragedy is actually a training ground. Reclaim the gavel. Stop asking the world for permission to be unshakable. If you let a stranger's opinion or a market crash dictate your heartbeat, you aren't a victim. You are a volunteer. You have handed the keys of your fortress to the very chaos you claim to hate. Reclaim your crown. Your mind is your law. You are not brave for enduring chaos. You are weak for inviting it into your soul. The court is in session. Reclaim the gavel. Now that your law is absolute, let us build the pillars that will hold this fortress together forever. Lesson 4. The 4 pillars. Virtue is your only weapon. To the Stoics, virtue wasn't a soft moral suggestion. It was a structural necessity. It was the only thing that could make a person bulletproof in a world of chaos. They distilled human excellence into 4 pillars: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Wisdom is your ability to see the world as it truly is, stripped of your emotional bias. Courage is your refusal to let fear dictate your path. Justice is your unwavering commitment to doing what is right, even when it costs you. And temperance is the iron grip you keep on your own impulses. These aren't just traits. They are tactical advantages. Virtue is not a trophy you win. It is the only weapon that does not blunt in the heat of battle. In the modern world, people trade their virtue for convenience. They lie to get ahead. They cower to avoid conflict. And they let their desires run their lives like a broken engine. But a Stoic knows that when you lose your virtue, you lose your fortress. Wisdom provides the map. Courage provides the engine. Justice provides the compass. And temperance provides the brakes. When these 4 are aligned, you become an immovable object. You call your lack of discipline freedom, but you are just a slave with a longer leash. The pillars do not bend, neither do you. Now that you are armed with the pillars, we must learn to find the hidden gold in the ashes of your greatest defeats. Lesson 5. Vicious gratitude, turning scars into armor. Seneca taught that gratitude is not a polite thank you to a kind world. It is a tactical reclamation of power from a cruel one. Most people only feel grateful when life is easy, but the Stoic practices a vicious form of gratitude. You must learn to thank the obstacle, the betrayal, and the crushing defeat. Why? Because the fire didn't come to consume you. It came to forge you. Without the weight, your muscles never grow. Without the betrayal, Your boundaries never harden. Every scar on your soul is a receipt for a battle you survived and a weapon you now own. Stop looking at your hardships as tragedies. Start looking at them as raw material. When life hits you, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "How can I use this?" A victim sees a wall. A stoic sees a foundation. You are grateful not because the world is good, but because you are strong enough to turn its filth into gold. This is the final layer of your armor. When you can look at your worst nightmare and find the lesson, you have won the war of the mind. The world can no longer touch you because you have weaponized everything it threw at you. You complain about the heat while the fire is trying to turn your weak iron into unbreakable steel. Wear the scars, rule the ashes. Now that the fortress is complete, we must seal the gates for the final time. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Over these 5 lessons, you have painted your mind with the logic of iron and the clarity of stone. You have rebuilt the walls, forged the weapons, and reclaimed your throne. But a script is just ink, and a video is just light. The true fortress is built in the seconds after you turn this off, in the silence, where you choose discipline over comfort. The architecture of the soul is not stone and mortar, but every hard truth you refuse to dodge. The world is waiting for you at the gate. It will try to breach your peace with the same old distractions and the same cheap fears. If you return to your old life unchanged, this wasn't an awakening. It was just entertainment. Stoicism is not a philosophy of reading. It is a war of attrition. You win this war every time you say no to your impulses and yes to your principles. The inner citadel is now your responsibility. Defend it with your life. You have the keys to the kingdom in your hand, yet you are still begging the world for permission to be free. The fortress is ready. Are you? If you are ready to stand as the sovereign of your own mind, comment armor below. The war is eternal. Stay unshakable.